Now, while we've had a ton of rumors come out around trades that potentially will happen leading up to the 2021 NHL trade deadline this season, there hasn't really been that much to manifest leading up to this point. Obviously, we've had a few trades in the past couple of weeks that have been pretty meaningful, you would say. Obviously, the trade that we just saw recently between the Blackhawks and the Panthers involving Brett Connolly and the cap dump there on the April 8th. Obviously, also as well on the 7th, that big, massive deal with the Islanders and Devils involving Palmieri and Zajac. But minus that, it's been a very quiet year for trades, obviously. Eric Stahl also was another one that just happened recently on the 26th. And other than that, the big trade that I could really think of that has had a really big impact on the league just in general is still going back to the January 23rd trade involving the Jets and the Columbus Blue Jackets in the Laine Dubois spot. Other than that, it's been a very calm year for trades, and today, all of a sudden on the 10th, all hell breaks loose, and we have a ton of trades to talk about today. Starting off with the first one that broke today, involving the Florida Panthers and Buffalo Sabres, where the Florida Panthers received defenseman Brandon Montour for a third-round pick in this year's draft. Now, I like this deal. Montour has obviously been one of the worst defensemen statistically, though, in the last couple of seasons in Buffalo. He just has not been good. He is, in my opinion, a player that you can't really look at with his stats-wise, though, because when you look at Buffalo and you look at the type of players that Buffalo has, they all suck. And they all sucked for a while now. So I like to think that guys from Buffalo can always have a fresh start with a new club, and I'm very interested to see how Montour fits in with the Panthers. The Panthers are a very young, hungry team that has finally had it all clicked this season. They're chasing their division, one of the best teams in the NHL this year, and without a doubt a cup contender. So it's interesting to see how Brandon Montour is going to fit with their system. I think it's going to work pretty well. Obviously, with Ekblad being out for basically the rest of the season at this point and leading into the playoffs, this is going to be some guy that they can hopefully bring in and put into the top four to the bottom pairing, have him play in that kind of area, have him be a good, consistent defenseman for them, and hopefully have him rebound from where he was last year. I'm kind of happy that Montour is off the board for the Jets on that side of things, because although I thought he could be an interesting asset for them to land, and the third-round pick obviously isn't expensive, I think there are better players out there than Montour, so it's going to be interesting to see how Cheveldaev handles this going forward. Now, the next trade I want to talk about is involving the San Jose Sharks and the Colorado Avalanche. So this is a weird one. The Colorado Avalanche are receiving goaltender David Dubnyk in exchange for a 2021 fifth-round pick and defenseman Greg Pateryn. Greg Pateryn, also obviously very familiar with the Colorado Avalanche, as he's spent a lot of time with them, and David Dubnyk has just been a really weird head case the last couple of seasons. He's really, really declined over the last few years from where he was, obviously, when he first came to the Minnesota Wild after being traded there from the Edmonton Oilers. When you look at his stats, you can just see it without even having to pull up his advanced stats and see his current level of play. This year so far with the San Jose Sharks, 17 games played with a record of 3-9. The year before that with the Wild, a record of 12-15. Goals against average this year has been very, very bad. 3.18 goals against. Last year, 3.35. A save percentage this year of 898. Not a very good goaltender this year, and has dropped off massively, not considering the fact that he's also 34 years old, so it makes sense for a goaltender to start to decline at this age. But nonetheless, an interesting trade for the Avalanche to get more depth. That's been their weakest link, in my opinion, has been backup goaltending, the Colorado Avalanche. Other than that, they're one of the best built teams the NHL has seen in a long time. So although David Dubnyk isn't that, great starting goaltender we've seen in the past from him when he was with the Wild, I think this is still a serviceable backup for them, and a guy who has some playoff experience. Obviously, he has had some issues in the playoffs when you go back and look at his past few series he had, even in particular that series against the Jets a few years ago. So I think that this is a decent trade for them. Giving up only a fifth-round pick and Greg Pateryn basically isn't really a big issue. So I think this is a good trade for the Colorado Avalanche. It's an interesting one, and I think it's going to work out well for them. Just to have a more solidified guy back there, although Dubnyk hasn't been great as a starter, to have him as a backup might work out well for them going into a playoff situation to have depth. Now, the other trade we're going to talk about is the big one of the day so far, and let me tell you, boys, this one is a very big doozy. So, starting it off, the Columbus Blue Jackets have a massive three-way trade that just went down, and it is a lot to process. So basically how it works is that the Red Wings and the Blue Jackets made a deal involving David Savard and Brian Lashoff. The Columbus Blue Jackets exchange get Lashoff, Savard goes to the Red Wings. Then what happens is that the Red Wings make a trade with a fourth-round pick in this year's draft. They trade that to the Tampa Bay Lightning in exchange for David Savard. and then the Tampa Bay Lightning acquire Savard and Lashoff in exchange for a third-round pick in next year's draft and a first-round pick in this year's draft. So basically how it all goes down is that the Lightning part ways with Savard. He goes to the Lightning. The Lightning are able to get Savard. So basically the best way to summarize it is you have David Savard leaving the Jackets to the Lightning. The Jackets are getting a first-round pick and a third-round pick in next year's draft, and the Red Wings are getting a fourth-round pick out of all of this. So basically, the Red Wings were a really weird middleman that made some weird trades. I'm not exactly sure how this one's going through. It's still blowing up hockey Twitter. Lots of stuff underway here. Also, 50% salary is retained by the Columbus Blue Jackets on David Savard's contract. When you go over and look at cap friendly for David Savard, he is currently making a little bit of money right now, not too much, but it is interesting to see that they would consider retaining salary. When you go look at his contract, currently David Savard right now is making $4.25, so basically 50% retained. They're going to be saving just taking on a contract of just about $2 million. So a pretty good deal in my opinion when you look at this. Obviously Savard has been a guy that hasn't been the best this year. He's been good defensively, but his offensive upside hasn't really been there with the Jackets. Again, kind of like going back to what I said about Montour, they haven't been having a good year, the Jackets, offensively at all, so it's interesting to see whether or not he's going to be able to have a bounce back, kind of, return to play. With the Lightning, we've seen the Lightning take on guys like this in the past, especially last year, guys like Shattenkirk and whatnot, and even guys as well to other extents, even Bogosian, kind of, restarting their career with the Lightning on a really good team that seems to fit. So we'll see what happens. Maybe Savard will get a bounce back in that point production, and he'll start to really, pick it up for them. But nonetheless, the Lightning just add another amazing defenseman to their already amazing roster, loading up for another cup run. The first round pick to them doesn't have much value. Let's be real. They think it's going to be the 31st anyway. They're going for another cup win here. The third round pick as well probably has more value than they think because the Lightning are just very good at drafting the late rounds. So nonetheless, a very interesting deal, a very complicated deal, and a very confusing deal, but one that I think works in favor for the Jackets. You get two really pretty good picks in return for a defenseman who's going to be leaving your team anyway, and then the Lightning get a good experienced defenseman who can come in and help shore it up. And then if you're the Red Wings in this case, you basically get a free fourth round pick, and you get a fourth round pick, and you can't go wrong with that if you're the Detroit Red Wings in a rebuild right now, trying to just get as many assets as you can and build up your farm team more. So a really convoluted and confusing day so far for the trade deadline. April 10th has become to be. The 12th is just around the corner, and who knows what that's going to look like, how many more trades we're going to have living up to this, but you bet your ass I'll be covering as much as I can. If you're a fan of hockey, or regardless of the team you root for, definitely consider dropping a subscription, as we're on that road to 1K subscribers, and any support you guys could give the channel is really appreciated. Peace, love, and positivity as always. Let me hear your thoughts on all these trades in the comment section below, and I will see you guys in the next video. Follow my socials in the description, and bye.